Okay, so you're mobile and you're traveling by trains, planes, automobiles. Who takes care of all the roads, the highways, the airports, and everything in the state of Pennsylvania?
It looks like you do.
It looks like I do because I have my hard hat on and I have my safety vest. So safety first, we're ready for construction. We're here at PennDOT.
Yes, we're in Dunmore, Pennsylvania. Thank you for having us. And you can always watch us on the app, or here we're on the cable system 190, channel 190. So we have some statistics to share before we introduce you to an amazing group of women here on The Girls. According to the recent report for U.S. Department of Commerce, Economics and Statistics Administration, women filled 47% of all U.S. jobs. That's according to the survey in 2015. Although they were serving 47% of the jobs, they only held 24% of jobs that dealt with science, technology, engineering, and math. So we need
far.
That was 2015, the latest survey, but what we need to do is we need to increase more women here that are working in the industry, and PennDOT happens to have many women that are in the industry, and they're doing a great job. Pennsylvania is a very rough state to handle. We can have 4 seasons in one day, and that affects the roads.
Yeah, we have 2 seasons, sinus season and cold season.
I love it, and I'm dealing with sinus season now. We don't do our chit-chat today, but I have like a swollen eye, so I'll be winking at you at home.
Well, we have 2 girls over here
Yes,
that
we
are
do.
waiting to be introduced, our 2
And they happen to be twins. Right, and we have Lonnie Shalkowski and Jen Barino with us, and they are our first guests, and today we want to focus on what women are doing in the workforce for PennDOT. So thanks for being on The Girls.
Thank you for having us. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so tell us about what you do here at PennDOT, and it's unique that you're twins and you actually came and were both working for PennDOT.
I'm a civil engineer in transportation, and my job here at PennDOT is to design the different projects that we have going on, mainly roadway projects, and I put together the contract documents, the plans, specifications that go into all the projects that I'm working on, and then they are then bid to the contractors. So that's
So give us an example. When you say design, let's look at a part of the state that we're currently in, northeastern Pennsylvania. Pick something that you worked on the design and then how it came about.
Okay. So one of the more recent projects that I designed and it was built, or my squad did, was the Daleville Park and Ride. And we had to design this from the beginning. First we had to do a lot of environmental studies and figure out what was out on our site. And then we come back to the office and we put together the plans, the specifications, and that's basically laying out your park and ride, designing the stormwater, seeing what types of pipes you might need around the park and ride, what pavement we're going to use on the park and ride, and then putting that together into a good package, coming up with estimates based on previous price history, and just coming up with a good quality project for PennDOT and for the public.
So how long did that project take you?
That project was
start to finish?
From start to finish, like design and construction, I would say maybe like 1.5 years.
Which is great because of all of the specifications you have to meet, and of course safety. You didn't even mention the safety part of it. So that's always one of your prime concerns, I guess, with the safety issues. And how did that turn out for you then? Everything is working as good as you wanted?
Yeah, that project, it was very safe, that project. We also had some MPT on the interstate SR380, so that worked out well. And I don't believe there was any safety issues on that project.
Do you get feedback from people when you do a design? I mean, I know we get feedback from people, but when you look at constructive criticism and things, projects or designs maybe that you worked on in the past, how do you take that into consideration? Is there a way that people can communicate as far as when they're using the roads and they may have a safety concern?
You mean the public?
Yes.
Yeah, we get feedback from the public. Maybe not necessarily through me, but there are people that the public can contact if there's an issue they're having. And
well, I was on your Facebook page and I noticed they have 2 special areas there if you want to report about potholes, and I believe if you wanted some more information about PennDOT itself or anything at all. So you do make it very accessible. You're very much accessible, like I said, so people could reach out to you.
we have our own website too, the PennDOT website.
All right, now do you do the same thing? Do you work together on
I
projects?
actually work in a different department
Okay.
than my sister. I work in our liaison department where I'm a professional engineer, but I don't do design. We're in the unit I work in. We actually hire the engineers to design the projects. So
Did you hire your sister?
no, like we hire other consultants. Like Lonnie works in our in-house design, and then we sub out our work to engineers to design the projects. And
So there's a lot that goes into what people are seeing as far as the roads or the park and ride. There's a lot of detail that goes behind the scenes. Just like a TV show, people see the final project, but they don't see the behind the scenes. So what do you do behind the scenes?
well, there's a lot of things behind the scenes that we have to follow. Like there's certain rules we have to follow, standards, and sometimes I would love to, get a project out very quickly, but there's certain rules we have to follow, certain procedures, and it's not as easy as it seems all the time.
A lot of paperwork and red tape.
A lot, yes. Especially in my job.
Regulation.
What do you
Yeah.
like most about your job?
I think I like most, it's always something new, especially in liaison. We get bridge projects, road projects, slide projects, paving, streetscape paving projects. So it's not like the same all the time.
I think my mom wants a job with PennDOT. She was very
I do.
excited.
I like the outfits. I
Very
like the color.
excited about wearing all the outfits. And
Yeah.
you're good with logistics and stuff. I think you would be good
am.
at doing this.
We got us here, didn't we?
Yeah, exactly. We're here. So we're going to talk about the money part of it coming up. Who deals with the money? And I have to make a pothole joke now and then, but I'm always siding with the people who have to take care of those because it's been a winter from hell,
Exactly.
and it's nobody's fault but Mother Nature.
Exactly. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Call all your friends, like I always say, and watch from all your devices. Download the app. You could watch us anywhere, anytime. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, you're watching The Girls here on SSP TV. You can download the app, watch us from any mobile device. We're happy to be here in Dunmore, and we are at PennDOT, and we're talking about obviously everything that goes into making Pennsylvania beautiful with roads and bridges. And you don't think of PennDOT for trails, at least I don't. That would be like one thing that people don't really think is the most popular. I guess it doesn't get as much attention as roads would and bridges.
Everything with transportation and for bikes and walking
for bikes. So
trails,
there's
everything.
that's a lot of the money that has to be funneled throughout the state, and a lot of things that you don't think about.
Yep. Well,
So we have
some experts.
We have some experts with us. One deals with the finances here, and that's Judy Russo. And then we have April Hannon, and you're a project manager,
Yes,
and you deal with the trails that we're
Yes.
going to talk about.
yes. I am a project manager in the design unit, and I've been here for 22 years.
Wow.
I didn't always do project management. I did quality improvement and employee recognition and different things like that before I became a project manager. But I do fun projects like Rails to Trails projects and streetscapes, downtown enhancements. Another coordinator position I have is bicycle pedestrian coordinator, so it ties in with how I manage those projects also. And as bicycle pedestrian coordinator, you talked about different initiatives. What are some initiatives with PennDOT? We have something called PennDOT Connects. This is an initiative by our Secretary of Transportation to include all aspects and all modes of transportation from the very planning stages of a project. So things like bike trails, bike lanes, sidewalks, pedestrian accommodations, all of those things are looked at right from the planning stages and brought to the forefront of all of the projects that we have in the district and in the state.
It's something that you brought that up because I went to your Facebook page and there was a survey there to take, and I did take the survey, and it's about how often you use the particular transportations, if you use public transportation, if you walk, how safe is it, how easy accessible is it, and also for biking. So I did take the survey, so you might want to visit that site and help, because the public can help you then see what is needed.
Yes.
So we could have a part of it.
And before we get to Judy, April, you mentioned that you've been here for 22 years.
Yeah.
How has the industry changed, since we are focusing a little bit more on women and women in this workforce and in these jobs? How have you seen that change over the years?
I feel that a lot more women engineers have come up through the ranks, and professions for women here at PennDOT. It has changed a lot since I'm here. Definitely has increased. I don't know the statistics, but there are a lot more, like you saw with Jen and Lonnie, and you'll see here today with the women that are here.
Well, Janine, we are domestic engineers by birth. I mean, you know, we do all of that in the home, so we've taken all of that expertise and all that genius that we have, and now we've put it out for the public to see.
Well, you're more diverse. You know, it's you put a woman's mind in there with a man's mind, and you get different ideas,
Yeah,
right?
we could make a round peg fit in a square hole. You just watch us.
Well, Judy, thanks for joining us as well. Now, I know you're more on the financials of PennDOT. What does that actually mean?
My department, I'm our finals unit supervisor, and I have a staff that works under me. They're auditors, and they actually go out on projects as they're being ran or being done. They'll go out at a percentage of the dollar amount that the work is done. If a project is $10 million, they may go out when it reaches certain goals up until the final product. And they just go out and audit, and they check the numbers along with the square yardage, cubic yards, and just check it all the way through the final end of the project. And it has to be completed in a certain time. That's given before it even starts. There's a project, let date, and when it actually starts out to where it actually ends. And I just have to follow that all the way through just to make sure the progress is moving along. And
Is that how the state gives you the funding that it actually gives to you? It's in phases, and so do you have to hand in an audit of a project before you move on to the second phase?
no, not necessarily.
Okay.
No, not necessarily. We just go out, we'll say we set it at 30% of the job, 60%, 90%, and of course at 100%. Then they'll go out and do a final audit on it. But no, and it's not really set in stone that we go out 30, 60, 90. It could be a big project, like some of the girls you're going to talk to ran some really big projects. And they might go out at 5% to start an audit because the job is just so big, and there may be so many plan stations that it'll just take my auditors so long to complete. So
For our viewers, what does an actual audit show for them? Why should they care that this audit is being done?
well, it shows the material that's brought in. It shows the certification. Like, all our material has to be certified.
So that's safety, correct? We're talking safety?
Well, yes, safety's involved in that, of course. Yeah, yes.
And durability
Yes.
and all the other
Yes,
things that go
yes,
involved. It has
yes.
to meet the standards.
Everything has to meet the standards, and
Okay.
the certification is very important. And yes, so all that has to be met, and they have to make sure that it's all met. And then I just double check kind of their work.
Talk about the trails.
Okay.
What are some of the trails that you've worked on, and what are some projects like that are going to be happening?
Okay. We have a tremendous amount of trails in our district, in District 60, PennDOT. This is our trail map that was done in 2013. It is 10 counties. And some of the trail projects I worked on was the Lackawanna Heritage Valley Authority Trail. There's over 40 miles of trail built right now on that trail. I've also worked on the DNL, the National Heritage Corridor. This is 165 miles. And
Pennsylvania is a beautiful place to be outdoors, and to enjoy Mother Nature. That's why I wanted you to hit on all these trails. I mean, there's so much you can do outside.
we have the
Where
Back
do you
Mountain
find
Trail,
these? Where can you find these?
the pamphlet.
The pamphlets.
If you go on to the DNL National Heritage Corridor, you can get these pamphlets. LHVA, the same thing, Lackawanna Heritage Valley Authority. You can go on their website and get information about their trails.
I take my kids to trails normally more in spring and summer. but they ride their bike or they run, and it's a good place because they can run and you don't have to worry about any cars in the way of the travels. You might have to watch for the bike lane, but other than that,
Okay, I'm dating
they're not
myself,
going to
but-
be run over, I should say.
Yeah,
by
I'm dating myself, but you have to remember Manny Gordon. Enjoy the great outdoors of northeastern central Pennsylvania. We'll be right back. You're watching The Girls.
We're going to hit on safety now. You're watching The Girls. We are at PennDOT in Dunmore, and we have a bunch of women on with us that are doing a great job throughout Pennsylvania, making those roads, those trails safe. Anything that has to do with transportation, they're on it.
They're on. And with
They're on.
safety, we have safety vests, we have the safety cones. I'm wearing a hard hat. Tell us about all of the safety things that are involved with building all of this transportation, roads, highways, bridges, everything involved. What is it that you do?
As a construction manager for PennDOT, we bid out our projects to have independent contractors physically do the work. We are then there to oversee and make sure that everything is done according to specifications, everything is maintained in a safe manner for the traveling public, for the actual workers in the work zones. So we are the ones that take the brunt of the blame for the delays and the single lane closures and the kind of balancing working at night versus working during the day, things like that. So we're kind of the feet meets the ground, what the public sees when a project becomes part of their community. So when you have your noisy long-term projects, things like that. So we're the ones that are there, the every day, kind of overseeing, ensuring everything from safety to quality, from start to finish.
Carlos, talk about that, because those are some of my concerns. I think there's nobody on the road. It's whatever time of day, and it's one lane. Why? So how do you decide when roads are going to be one lane? I understand keeping it one lane if you don't want to take all the cones down for the next day, but how do you decide when you're going to be actually out there working on projects, especially things like the interstate where there's a lot of travelers?
Yeah, we've got differences in regards to our short-term projects that we have, meaning that we put the cones up and we put the arrow board and the signs up, and then we take them down at the end of the day because we're either milling and paving or just paving a road or doing some things that we need that extra lane to be able to do the work in a safe manner, because that's the big thing of trying to keep the distance between the workers and the motoring public as they're going by. So that would be our short-term operations that would go up in the morning and come back at the end of the day. Then we have our long-term projects, as Patricia's worked on and I've worked on, are the long-term ones that are on the interstate. So you're basically channelizing traffic to either one lane, or in some instances, if they're in our corridor, which is Waverly down to Nanticoke, that we're trying to maintain 2 lanes of traffic. So then you'll have barrier that's up there because we're working on bridges. So we need to create a safe area for, the people that are working as well as the public. So those stay up for a longer period of time. A lot of things are involved in regards to production, how much they can get done in a day, what they have available to them. Because remember, they can't work on it all the time because there's either subs that are involved that come in to do certain things. So you're prepping something for the next person to come in. So it's not always fluid where you're working 24 hours a day, but there's times that, there will be some breaks, and unfortunately the public is traveling 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So they always seem like they either hit the same time, or depending on where we're at the work, it just might be they're not doing anything. But then on the other times, they're out there working and they're doing things, and we're making progress.
And how much does the weather have to do with delays?
Well, then, that's the other thing. Look at all the rain that we got here now. You've got some issues where things are just too wet. You have to wait for them to dry.
So do you take into consideration a busier traveled road on when to work on it, or what is it taken into consideration first? Safety, I'm assuming.
Safety number one is always the first thing in regards to how the project is set up.
Okay.
In regards to the arrow bones, the cones, and any delineation that needs to keep the traffic away from where we're trying to work. So that's the first paramount thing there. Then when it comes to location, depending on where they're at, do you have businesses to contend with? Are you on the interstate? Are you within that corridor of Waverly to Nanticoke that you can only do things either before Memorial Day or after Labor Day? So we're conscious of where people are traveling and when they're traveling. Then you get to the other thing in regards to the short-term ones where we're required to come out at 8 o'clock at night and have to be off the road by 6 o'clock in the morning. So that is even a shorter and tighter window because Now you're trying to work at night. You can't see what's coming across the mountain. Now we're relying on iPads and radars and everything else to say that if it's green, is it really raining, or is it just something that's going to blow by? So you're taking that risk that when you set the pattern up, you can get done what you've opened up, because you got to be off by 6
You
o'clock
made a
in the
good
morning.
point with the bidding out. So PennDOT is not always just working on that project. You might have other people that you're relying on to come out
Yes.
to finish portions of that project.
Yeah. And that's what I said. It's always because you got the main contractor. He's the one that bid the job, but he's got all the subs. And they've got either specialty work, some do pavement base drain, some do certain type of repairs, some only do bridge work, some do guide rail, some do line painting. So there's a whole host of different things that can be done. And if you're in, like I said, when no one's working, and if it rained for a couple days and the pavement is wet and you need to open, but you can't put lines down, you can't open up the road and let people have a free-for-all and try to figure out where they should be. So it's like I said, there's just it's a domino effect. If one thing gets messed up, then it sort of attributes to the others of what they can't get done.
How much do businesses complain about this? I know that a lot of businesses
Well,
will say, my
everybody-
God, they closed my road, my business is doing poorly.
Yes.
But in the long term, they're going to end up with a better road, a better route,
Oh,
you have
definitely.
better traffic patterns and whatever.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you're widening the roads, which will make it better for them. So
Yeah.
they have to sacrifice a little
And like
bit,
I said,
but-
Patricia does currently now. She does the work, in the field. So basically, she's a coordinator with the businesses as soon as the job starts up.
And that's what it comes down to, is basically communication. So you try to communicate to local businesses through, whether it's through Chamber of Commerce, whether it's through borough meetings, whether it's just talking to the businesses one-on-one. So you're trying to coordinate whether it's an event that they're having, whether they have an open house coming up that you're trying to schedule work around, or so it's kind of like an evolving, floating communication effort all the way around. You're letting them know what your upcoming work is going to entail. They're letting you know what their busiest times are or what their special events may be, and you try to coordinate. A lot of times that works out very well for everyone. There's times when it doesn't, and you kind of have to just adapt.
We're running out of time, but we should bring up potholes, because I'm sure that's the main concern. Talk about that. As far as, of course, people are always going to complain, but talk about potholes.
We have a whole separate division that does the maintenance on the roadways. They are responsible for doing the repairs and the general maintenance that you see. They're the ones that come in to do the snow plowing in the wintertime, which is a very visual part of PennDOT. And so basically, it's if you go to the 1-800-FIX road and you report pothole, it gets every single complaint gets addressed. So nothing is put aside, nothing is ignored. They all get addressed. And again, typically the potholes tend to all happen at the same time. You have a workforce that has to address them, so it's kind of, they just have to wait their turn.
Very good. Thanks for joining us on The Girls. We learned a lot today.
Yes, we did. And
Are
hope
we
I'm
for
going
hire
home
now?
with the best.
That's what we
all I
want. We
can
want
say.
the best.
Yeah. When I walk my dog, I want to have my best.
Well, there you go. Well, thanks for joining us. There was a lot of information. PennDOT is very good at having information on their website. You can have the 1-800, it's 1-800 numbers that we can provide with you here. And use technology, because there's a lot of ways that you can get a hold of PennDOT and voice your concerns and look at all the amazing work that they're doing across Pennsylvania.